Welcome to No Direction Beyond, your Starfinder news, reviews, and interviews podcast. I'm Alexander Agunas, No Direction's Everyman Gamer.
I'm James. I used to write Code Switch.
And I'm Vanessa Hoskins.
And today we're here with Portents of Peril. The last time we had an episode, we reviewed the precog class, which is all about seeing into the future. And we have seen the future and know of all the horrible, terrible things that are going to be falling on your Starfinder campaign in the coming months. Isn't that right, Vanessa?
Yes.
All the terrible things, but they're going to be great and they're going to be glorious.
Doom and gloom. Okay, all right. People talk about the sky is falling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hyperspace is literally falling. The drift is literally falling.
It's great. Everyone's going to be so happy. Like, did you ever realize that you actually don't want faster than light travel? What you actually want is to like be ejected from reality while trying to travel faster than light. It's perfect. It's great.
Right.
Do you wanted to see stuff come out of there and just like land everywhere, just ruining whatever you had? Great. That's a thing.
And so for those of you who are confused beyond recognition and any reasonable level, we are talking about the Drift Crisis, a 1-year massive event in the Starfinder universe that everyone, including you, dear listener, or viewer, if you're watching us live on a Wednesday night, you can participate in your home game. Even if you're like, well, we homebrew the adventure and it's still in the packed worlds, but like you can still participate. It's so good. It's so cool. And I think you should, because this is just such a huge event. If you are listening to this and you are thinking, I am a Starfinder actual play podcast, and that would be really disruptive, let me tell you, do it. It is memorable and huge, and you want to be a part of it.
Definitely. But before we get too far started, we should come clean. No, we got it. We got to come clean. The first thing we have to make sure to say is that Paizo gave us an early copy of Drift Crisis to share some of the deets with you. So
that's what we're here for.
This book is not actually released. I think this is a May release. Is that right, Vanessa?
That sounds right.
Yeah. So like this book is coming out a month after the recording date that we have. And I will announce now that we're going to have John Compton on the show for our next episode where we're going to interview him about Drift Crisis 2. So you're going to have all the details that you need to know to prepare for the biggest tabletop RPG event ever to happen in a living game, like across all of Paizo systems. Like there is not a book that has ever been published by Paizo that resembles what this book is, and I adore this book.
I would go out on a limb and say there has not been a book published like this by any tabletop role-playing game.
I would agree with you, but I was careful. I tried not to like make the general statements that someone could prove me wrong.
I want you to prove me. If you are listening to this and you hear my voice right now, and I am telling you no other tabletop role-playing game has done anything like this, I would like you to prove me wrong, because I don't think it exists. This is singular. There are places that, like, I don't know, Forgotten Realms updated their thing and time jumped, and even Pathfinder, like when it went to second edition, said, okay, all those adventure paths we had, yeah, cool, they happened, they're in canon, and now we're moving forward. Sure.
Milo V3 in chat says that World of Darkness is very big on doing this type of thing.
On like 1-year events, like this is happening now, and then in a year from now, it's irrelevant.
I think that as we share what Drift Crisis is, it's going to become very clear why this is not like something that World of Darkness has done. It's very different, because it's like a lot of what I've seen of, I'm going to admit to anybody who's listening, my experience with World of Darkness is very limited, but from my understanding of a lot of those types of products, they tend to be like, oh, it's almost like an organized play special event, like a season type of thing, where it's
it's bigger than that.
Yeah, I've never seen a book that was as ambitious as this book is. It's fantastic, yes. But don't let us just try to convince you without any evidence. We're all about evidence-based deets here on No Direction Beyond.
Well, and why don't we just like give them a hint of what we're talking? Should we show them the table of contents? I kind of feel like we should.
I think we should.
Yeah. So here's the table of contents, and as you can see in there, there's a whole section about 50 pages on just the Drift Crisis, right? There's 50 pages just talking about like, what is it, how it affects various areas. It goes into Pact Worlds of Skyrim, like all these, the Aslanti Star Empire, like how all of these different regions of space and major spacefaring organizations in the in the galaxy are dealing with it. I just bit my tongue. Chapter 2 is huge. Chapter 2 is almost 100 pages. And
it's huge.
It just talks about adventures. It's literally like, here is how this affects your adventures going on. Here's where like you might be. So much adventure information, and a lot of it are like broken down on individual like factions, right? Like political space organizations doing things, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
or
we're
just
talking about like
different other things in there. Yeah.
There's but it definitely breaks it down thematically in the universe. So it's talking about like what the corpse fleet's doing, or what's going on Absalom Station, or refugees from Absalom Station. There's a section called Decoding the Storm. What? Decoding the Storm.
Yes. This is great. I'm super excited. There's a lot of great sections in this book. And I think one of the things that's really helpful to know is like, this isn't just a setting book. There are player options. It's like a crazy mix of setting and player options, but also like, it's almost like a setting hack. Like I guess the closest thing I can think of is like, this book would be like if like Owen Casey Stevens doing like a really weird Wild West or like Shadowfinder or something, but instead of being like a complete change to the setting, it adds something on top of it. It's I love. I'm so excited to talk about.
And there's even options about adapting other older material into this new canon, which I think was very thoughtful.
Yeah, I think that's something that one of the things that we're going to touch on. We have a list of topics from the book that we want to talk about. We got to pick what we wanted to do. So everything that we present to you has been curated by the No Direction Beyond team for maximum cohesiveness and enjoyment. And I'm sure you'll hear a lot more about Drift Crisis next time we do our episode with John Compton as well. But in the meantime, we wanted to make sure to give you our thoughts and impressions without having to worry about keeping anybody else happy. So let's get ready. Let's dive in to the Drift Crisis.